Imagine building your dream home with your own two hands. No mortgage, no landlord, no one to answer to. Marcus did exactly that. He spent 3 years constructing a cabin on land he legally owned, miles from the noise of the city. Then one morning, he looked out his window and saw a woman walking through his yard like she owned the place. She didn't. But she was about to wish she never tried. Didn't see that coming? This is your last chance this week. Subscribe now, because these stories only get crazier. Before we continue, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. Marcus Hale was not the kind of man who chased the American dream. He built his own version of it. After 15 years working as a structural engineer, he saved enough to buy 12 acres of land in a quiet rural county, just outside a small planned community called Cedarwood Estates. He paid cash. He designed the cabin himself. He laid every beam, every floorboard, every stone of that fireplace with his own hands. He wasn't part of the Cedarwood HOA. His land sat just outside their jurisdiction. He had verified this with the county 3 times before he ever broke ground. He had no shared amenities with them, no common walls, no agreements. He simply existed next to them. And for 2 years, that was fine. Then Linda Marsh became HOA president. Linda was the type of person who found power in paperwork. The moment she took over, Cedarwood's newsletter tripled in length, the fine structure doubled, and residents started receiving notices for things like non-uniform mailbox angles and unapproved garden hose colors. Petty? Absolutely. But that was Linda's world. And inside Cedarwood Estates, she ran it like a queen. The problem was, Marcus wasn't inside Cedarwood Estates. It started with a letter. Formal, official-looking, stamped with the HOA seal. It informed Marcus that his cabin's exterior paint color violated community aesthetic guidelines and that he had 30 days to repaint or face fines. Marcus read it twice, laughed once, and threw it in the trash. He wasn't in their community. He didn't have to follow their guidelines. End of story. Except Linda didn't accept the end of that story. A second letter arrived, then a third, each one more aggressive than the last. Marcus ignored all of them, so Linda decided to pay him a personal visit. One Tuesday morning, Marcus watched from his porch as Linda Marsh, clipboard in hand, lanyard around her neck, opened his gate, walked up his gravel path, and began photographing his property like she had every right in the world to be there. Marcus stepped off the porch. "Can I help you?" Linda barely looked up. "I'm conducting a community compliance inspection." "This isn't community property," Marcus said. Linda smiled the kind of smile that made Marcus's jaw tighten. "According to our updated community map, this parcel falls within HOA jurisdiction. You'll be hearing from us formally." She turned around and walked back out the gate. Now here's what Linda didn't know, and this is the part that changes everything. Marcus had hired a licensed land surveyor the week he purchased the property. Every boundary was professionally marked, documented, and filed with the county recorder's office. His land was his land, legally, officially, and undeniably. But more importantly, and pay very close attention here, Marcus had installed a full perimeter camera system 6 months earlier after a separate trespassing incident with a neighboring hiker. Every inch of his property was recorded. The moment Linda Marsh opened that gate, she was on camera. Marcus didn't panic. He didn't argue. He just went inside, poured himself a coffee, and started building a file. The formal notice arrived 4 days later. Linda had issued Marcus a $500 fine for exterior non-compliance and a $250 fine for unauthorized land use within HOA boundaries. She had also attached a map, a neatly printed community map, showing Marcus's 12 acres shaded in the same color as HOA common property. Marcus stared at that map for a long time, because he had seen the original Cedarwood Estates plat map. And this wasn't it. Someone had redrawn the boundaries. Someone had deliberately altered an official-looking document to absorb his land into their jurisdiction on paper. That wasn't a misunderstanding. That was fraud. Marcus picked up the phone and called his cousin, a real estate attorney named Derek, who had been waiting for a case like this his entire career. Meanwhile, Linda was accelerating. She sent notices to Marcus every week. She began telling Cedarwood residents that the squatter next door was lowering property values. She contacted the county code enforcement office with anonymous complaints about Marcus's septic system, his well, and his driveway grade. Each complaint was investigated. Each one came back clean. But Linda kept filing, kept pushing, kept manufacturing pressure. What she didn't know was that every letter, every complaint, every manipulated document was being photographed, cataloged, and handed to Derek. Then came the HOA board meeting. Third Thursday of the month. 7 p.m. open to the public. Marcus walked in wearing a clean button-down shirt and carrying a leather folder. Sitting beside him was Derek. Sitting beside Derek was a woman named Carol Simmons, the deputy county recorder who handled property disputes. The room went quiet when they sat down. Linda, up at the front table, went very still. The board chairman opened the floor. Marcus stood up. He laid it out calmly, methodically, the way an engineer presents structural data. He showed the original county plat map. He showed Linda's altered version side by side. He showed the camera footage of Linda entering his property without permission, twice it turned out, because she had come back 4 days after the first visit when Marcus wasn't home. He showed every letter, every fake fine, every fraudulent complaint filed with code enforcement. And then Carol Simmons stood up and confirmed on the record that no amendment to the Cedarwood Estates boundary had ever been filed with the county. The map Linda had been distributing was fabricated. The room erupted. 3 board members resigned on the spot. 2 others demanded Linda's immediate removal. Linda sat frozen at that table, her clipboard in her lap, her lanyard suddenly looking less like a badge of authority and more like a leash she had wrapped around her own neck. The HOA voted to remove Linda Marsh as president that same night, effective immediately. But Marcus wasn't done. Derek filed a civil suit the following Monday. Trespassing, harassment, fraudulent document creation, and intentional interference with property rights. 6 months later, the case settled. The HOA, now under new leadership and desperate to put the whole disaster behind them, agreed to pay Marcus $34,000 in damages, issue a formal written apology, and permanently acknowledge in their governing documents that his property was entirely outside their jurisdiction. Linda Marsh never held a position of authority in any homeowners association again. Marcus used part of the settlement to build a second structure on his land, a workshop. He painted it the exact same color as the cabin. He said it felt right. Here's the thing that I keep coming back to. Linda had every opportunity to simply verify the boundary lines. 1 phone call to the county recorder. 1 honest look at the original plat map. That's all it would have taken. Instead, she chose to manufacture authority she never had and handed a quiet, patient engineer every tool he needed to dismantle her. Some people mistake patience for weakness. Marcus never corrected that assumption. He just let them keep talking and kept the camera rolling. If this story made you feel something, the comment section is wide open. Would you have handled it the same way Marcus did, or would you have confronted Linda the moment she walked through that gate? Let us know below. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button, because next week's story makes this one look tame.